Step into the shadowy streets of Victorian London, where gas lamps flicker and fear stalks every corner. Jack the Ripper is on the loose, and with each gruesome crime, he slips away like a phantom. Can you handle the chilling mystery that even the sharpest minds could not solve? Number 10. Jack the Ripper, London's Phantom Menace. Picture this. Victorian London in 1888, a city of cobblestone streets, horse-drawn carriages, and thick fog rolling in from the Thames. In this setting of historical charm and industrial growth, a shadow loomed, a shadow that would become one of the most infamous in criminal history. Jack the Ripper, the name given to the unidentified serial killer, terrorized the East End of London, particularly the Whitechapel district, over a span of a few months. Despite numerous investigations and a long list of suspects, his true identity remains a mystery. The name Jack the Ripper still sends shivers down the spine, not just because of the gruesome nature of his crimes, but because he seemed to vanish into thin air, leaving behind nothing but fear and speculation. Number 9. The victims. Lives cut short in the shadows. The horror of Jack the Ripper lies not only in the mystery of his identity, but also in the tragic fates of his victims. Jack the Ripper is widely believed to have murdered at least 5 women, who are often referred to as the canonical 5. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. These women were living on the fringes of Victorian society, facing poverty and often resorting to prostitution to survive. In a city where the divide between wealth and poverty was stark, their lives were hard, and their deaths were brutal. The Ripper's modus operandi involved viciously attacking his victims and then mutilating their bodies, suggesting not just a desire to kill, but to instill terror in the community. The media frenzy that followed the discovery of each body only added to the public's fear and fascination. Number 8. Letters from the Killer. Jack's mocking notes. One of the most chilling aspects of the Jack the Ripper case is the series of letters that were allegedly sent by the killer to the police and the press. The most famous of these is the Dear Boss letter, which was signed with the name Jack the Ripper, a moniker that has since become synonymous with this shadowy figure. In these letters, the writer taunted the authorities, mocked their efforts to capture him, and even hinted at future murders. The From Hell letter, another infamous correspondence, was accompanied by half of a preserved human kidney, claimed to be from one of his victims. Whether these letters were genuinely written by the killer or by a prankster looking to stoke the flames of fear is still debated. Regardless, they added a terrifying psychological dimension to the case, suggesting that the Ripper not only relished the physical act of killing, but also enjoyed playing a game with the entire city. Number 7. The Whitechapel District, a labyrinth of fear. Whitechapel in the late 19th century was a stark contrast to the wealth and opulence found in other parts of London. It was a district characterized by poverty, overcrowding, and a constant struggle for survival. Narrow, winding alleys, dimly lit by gas lamps, created a maze-like environment where crime could easily thrive. In this grim setting, the Ripper found his hunting ground. The police force was overwhelmed by the sheer volume of crime in the area, and the residents, many of whom lived in dire conditions, were vulnerable. The Ripper used this to his advantage, striking in the early hours of the morning when the streets were empty, and then vanishing into the intricate web of Whitechapel's alleyways. The district itself became an accomplice, providing the perfect cover for a killer who moved like a ghost. Number 6. A list of suspects. The endless search for Jack. Since the murders, the list of Jack the Ripper suspects has grown long and varied. Some of the earliest suspects included Montague John Druitt, a barrister and teacher who drowned himself in the Thames shortly after the last of the Ripper murders. There was also Aaron Kosminski, a Polish immigrant and barber who was known to have a mental illness. In more recent years, the theory that Prince Albert Victor, a member of the British royal family, might have been the Ripper gained traction, although it has been largely discredited by historians. Other suspects ranged from local butchers and doctors to artists and even women. Some theories propose that the killer was someone with medical knowledge, due to the precise nature of the mutilations. The list is endless, with each name shrouded in its own set of mysteries and ambiguities. The inability to conclusively identify the killer has only deepened the intrigue surrounding the case. Number 5. The police investigation. A race against an invisible killer. The police investigation into the Jack the Ripper murders was one of the most extensive in Victorian London. Officers from the Metropolitan Police and the City of London Police scoured the streets of Whitechapel, conducted interviews, and followed up on numerous leads. However, they were working in an era before modern forensic science, without the benefits of DNA analysis, fingerprinting, or even proper crime scene preservation. The lack of solid evidence made the investigation a nightmare. The media, meanwhile, was relentless in its criticism of the police's inability to catch the killer, further complicating their efforts. Every time they seemed to get close, the Ripper would slip away, leaving them with nothing but more questions. The case files grew thicker, and the tension between the police and the public reached a boiling point. It was as if Jack was mocking the very institution that was supposed to protect the people. Number 4. The Autumn of Terror, London's Season of Horror. The period during which Jack the Ripper committed his murders is often referred to as the Autumn of Terror. Between August and November 1888, the atmosphere in London was one of fear and anxiety. The killer struck with a ferocity that left the city paralyzed. The discovery of each new victim was a public spectacle, drawing crowds and media attention. Details of the murders, particularly the mutilations, were gruesomely splashed across the front pages of newspapers, both terrifying and thrilling readers. The public's fear was palpable. People were afraid to walk the streets at night, and suspicion fell on anyone who seemed even slightly out of the ordinary. For a few months, Jack the Ripper held an entire city hostage, not just with his violence, but with the idea that he could be lurking around any corner. Number 3. The Legacy of Jack the Ripper, Changing Policing Forever. Jack the Ripper's legacy is far-reaching, not just as a historical figure, but as a catalyst for change in law enforcement and society. The case highlighted the limitations of the police in dealing with such a cunning and brutal criminal. It led to improvements in investigative techniques, the importance of preserving crime scenes, and the early development of criminal profiling. The case also marked a turning point in the role of the media in shaping public perception of crime. Sensationalist reporting on the murders created a new genre of true crime journalism, turning the Ripper into a media phenomenon. His story has been retold countless times in books, films, and television shows, each version adding to the mythos of this elusive killer. In many ways, Jack the Ripper became a symbol of the darker side of the human psyche, a reminder of the capacity for evil that can exist even in the heart of civilization. Number 2. Modern forensic efforts. Science meets history. Despite the passage of more than 130 years, the mystery of Jack the Ripper still captivates the public and continues to be the subject of modern forensic investigation. In recent years, advances in DNA analysis have been applied to the case, though the results have been inconclusive and controversial. In 2014, researchers claimed to have identified Aaron Kosminski as the Ripper based on DNA found on a shawl purportedly belonging to one of the victims, Catherine Eddowes. However, the evidence was widely criticized for its lack of scientific rigor and potential contamination. Other forensic experts have examined the letters sent by the alleged killer, looking for linguistic clues that might reveal his identity. While science has offered new insights into the case, it has also underscored just how little we truly know about the Ripper. Every new piece of evidence seems to raise more questions than it answers, keeping the legend of Jack alive. Number 1. The enduring fascination. Why Jack still haunts us. Jack the Ripper fascinates us even after a century due to the brutal murders, the vulnerability of the victims, and the mystery of his identity. He embodies the fear of the unknown, a tale without an ending that challenges our need for answers. His crimes occurred during a time when society was on the cusp of modernity, yet they remain unsolved even in our current era of advanced technology and forensic science. In an age of information, his unsolved crimes remind us that some mysteries are beyond our grasp, highlighting the thin line between civilization and chaos. Jack is not just a historical figure. He is a legend, a haunting reminder of the darkness within the human soul, and a symbol of the enduring power of fear and intrigue that continues to captivate our imagination. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed unraveling this chilling mystery, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Join us for more thrilling tales that will keep you guessing.